Welcome to the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles, along with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. So our special guest today is Franchise FastLane CEO and co-founder, Carey Gille. Carey is a serial entrepreneur, having co-founded 4 startups throughout her career. She also brings extensive franchise experience, having franchised with 3 different concepts on the Z side, while also leading franchise development for multiple brands on the ZOR side. FastLane is the #1 FSO in the country with over 40 employees, representing approximately 20 brands, generating over 160 million in franchise fees, while awarding over 4,200 territories nationwide. FastLane has been ranked by Entrepreneur Magazine as a top 5 franchise consulting company for 4 consecutive years, and also earned Inc. 500 ranking of 182 overall and #2 in the big state of Nebraska. Carey, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Nice. Wow, that was impressive. So let me ask you a question, Carey. So we hear so many stories about the accidental franchiser, right? Meaning people who kind of fell into franchising. Very few people enter it deliberately. So what's your story? What led you to franchising?
I think sometimes that's the mistaken assumption. You see somebody who's been in franchising the last few years and you start seeing their face and their presence in the industry and you just assume that's where they've always been. But that wasn't where I started. Now, I've always been an entrepreneur. I was the daughter of entrepreneurs. I've always been an entrepreneur. And at a very young age, I was introduced to vision. So I started researching it. It's my favorite definition in the whole Webster's dictionary. It's a clear and compelling picture of a preferable future, a clear and compelling picture of a preferable future. So if you think about it, usually people get one or the other, right? They either get the clear and compelling picture. They work in corporate environment. They know their corporate America. They know their day every day, their 3% raise, their vacation, right? It's a clear and compelling picture. Or they get the preferable future, and that takes more risk, and they're out there building their own business, but finding both is really hard. And so my story really starts with coming around to finding both. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I graduated during the dot-com boom. And so I wanted to go into tech. I mean, that was the happening industry, right? I wanted to go into tech. And there were a couple partners, and I partnered with an accountant, and he had this book that valued items people gave to charity. Again, nothing to do with franchising, right? We are way out in left field here. But he had this book that valued items people gave to charity. We wrote the software, and we just started a little company. And obviously the premise here was, if you valued your donations accurately, you could save more on your taxes. You could benefit those less fortunate and benefit yourself with a tax break. We weren't getting much attention. We didn't have a marketing budget. It was a typical startup. We were officing out of McDonald's for real. And so I wrote a press release and I started sending it around, and local media started picking it up. And I just started traveling and, doing the evening news in Omaha and Kansas City and St. Louis. And so probably because I was too young and naive to be intimidated, I sent it to the Wall Street Journal. I thought for sure, ladies, that they were going to throw that thing away, right? I thought for sure. But no kidding, I will never forget the day that I was in meetings and my girlfriend called me and she said, Carey, you are on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. They didn't even warn me. They just ran it. Front page, right above the fold. And the next 2 years, I lived in New York, and it was CNN Headline News and MSNBC and CNN-FN and U.S. News and World Report and Wall Street Journal. And it's so ironic when you think about it, because I was maybe 22 or 23. So I had filed my taxes independent of my parents once or twice. And yet you're a tax expert, right? I mean, it just shows you the opportunity if you just embrace it. That company sold to Intuit. My little tool called It's Deductible is in TurboTax today. I built a couple solutions for them, started another company after that. But then I heard about this individual back in Omaha. I wanted to get back to Nebraska. I had lived in New York, Dallas, California, where Intuit TurboTax. And I wanted to get back home. My first son was born. The nanny was getting more time than me. You know what that is, that angst. I wanted to be home. And I heard of this gentleman, his name was Ryan Zink, and he had a franchise. I didn't know franchising, but it was called Complete Nutrition. I love health and fitness. And so we went to lunch and he was looking for a CDO. He had 4 locations. He wanted to grow it across the country. And I studied the concept and fell in love with what it was. Didn't know franchising. I didn't know an FDD from an ABC, but I thought, I'm going to learn this. Put my head down, and we set a goal of 20 territories. We sold 240. I bought 3 of my own. My husband ran our locations while I focused on development for the corporate office, and just fell in love with franchising. Here's why I fell in love. Get back to that definition, right? It was both. It was a clear and compelling picture. It was a preferable future, all in one, because franchising brings that picture, right? It brings that, but you get to be a business owner. I was smitten. That company sold and to private equity in 2015, but Ryan and I got back together in 2017 and started talking about what can we build, and we started FastLane in 2017. So I fell into franchising.
Wow.
But and started with technology. Yeah.
Boy, what a track. What a path. Incredible.
It is incredible. But like you said, you have a entrepreneurial mindset from a very early stage and stepped up and took some risks. So I love this definition, and I hope everybody heard it, this clear and compelling idea of a preferable future, right? And I think that is what makes successful business owners and successful entrepreneurs in general, which kind of takes me to my next question about FastLane. What is the mission, the clear and compelling future that FastLane has?
Yes. Our mission at FastLane, and any FastLaner you call up could just tell you what this is. It's drive extraordinary growth for the chosen few. To drive extraordinary growth for the chosen few. I just explained my background and my love for franchising. An FSO, that's what we are. We're called an FSO, a franchise sales organization. It's really a unique opportunity to have impact on a macro level, a supersized level. The chosen few for us, it's not just brands. Of course, it's brands, of course, but it's also franchisees, it's consultant partners, and of course, it's our own FastLaners. It's the 55 people. We just welcomed 3 yesterday, the 55 people now that work in the FastLane. So as an FSO, we don't want to work with one brand. We currently work with 20, and it's such a unique way to grow those brands and inspire business ownership on a large scale. We solve the #1 problem for emerging brands. They create their concept, their processes, and their systems, but they struggle. They struggle to figure out, how do I find the right people to grow my brand with across the country? And last year, I talked to 151 brands to find the right fit brands for the FastLane. 151, we only brought on 8. So we're looking for that right brand. And it's almost comical, because when I say, what do you do? I could almost walk away from the phone. They know their business model. They know their business. They know it very well, and they're passionate. It's like when you ask me about FastLane or one of my 3 sons, you could probably walk away from the phone because I'm going to talk your leg off, right? But then you come back and you say, how are you going to grow this brand around the country? Crickets.
They don't know. They don't
know. They have no idea even where to start. And that is the problem we solve. And it's amazing. Almost 6 years in, it's been 35 to 40 brands now, 1,600 franchisees we've ushered into franchising, over 4,000 communities and territories locked. It's macro life change.
Wow, wow. So what does it mean for the brand now that private equity has invested in it?
Yeah, you're right. That was a big change for us, and it happened just May of this year. And again, I've been talking about the next stage for brands, but I'm equally excited about what this means as the CEO for the next stage for FastLane. So Southfield Capital, they're a private equity firm. They partner with growing companies in the middle market. It's exciting for us because not only do they bring us more financial strength, but to support our next stage, but they also have experience as investors, managers, advisors. They have a proven track record of building exceptional companies. In the FastLane, we've proven that we can drive extraordinary growth for the chosen few. In the last answer, I gave you some numbers and stats. But today, let me tell you the challenge. We drive that extraordinary growth, and then frankly, we have to hope our brands can keep up. We have to hope. And I meet with every brand every quarter, and because we're tracking and we're saying, okay, we've sold this many. How many do you have open? What are you doing? What's your path to make sure you stay our sold but I open ratio doesn't, become tainted. We don't want that. We want you keeping up with our growth, keeping franchisees happy. We really want to become a part of the experience even after they sign the franchise agreement. And we're not that today. We want to extend our services. I would love to be offering things like consulting for field support, marketing, insurance, bookkeeping, payroll, credit card processing. I don't know where it can go, but I think we need to be doing more for our brands. So why is it exciting? Because today we offer a great solution, but for a very narrow group of brands. We call them next big thing brands. I'd like to offer a solution to more brands. I don't want to be turning away 95% of brands that come to me, which is what we're doing today, because our solution, it's great, but it only fits the few that can keep up. And I would like our solution to extend beyond the franchise agreement and into servicing and taking care of franchisees beyond signing.
I like that commitment, Carey, because we do see situations where folks are focused on just the development, right? Just the sales. And what happens to that franchisor who's got this big growth? Do they have things in place to really support that kind of growth? And also on the franchisee side, how are they ramping up? How are they blending into that culture? So I like that your vision has actually expanded, or maybe it was always there and you're just now in a position by partnering with private equity to go to that next level. So we're not, just doing that front end. We're hoping to be involved all the way through. To me, that's a big commitment, and it shows your character and it shows what's important to you. We're big here at Zorkel about values because we know every decision is based on someone's values. Can you talk a little bit about your values and what brought your success and also the success of FastLane?
Of course. The first thing I need to say here, if you say what brought you success, it's people. If I only had 5 seconds to answer that question, what did we do right? We surrounded ourselves with the right people from day one. I wish I could have the whole FastLane team, all 55 employees on this, podcast with me so that you could meet them. You'd be blown away by who we're able to bring into the FastLane and the culture of the FastLane and the work ethic and all of those things. So we have the right FastLaners. We also have the right brand partners. We have the right consultant partners. We would not be where we are today without all of that. Finance partners, all that. Now we've added Southfield. Again, if I only had a few seconds, I'd say people. But beyond that mission, we also have 5 core values. And we look at them every team meeting. We nominate, we use Namely for our HR function, and we nominate each other for these core values when we see them throughout the week. And so we'll get an email and somebody's just been nominated for a core value for going above and beyond. And they're 5. And again, anybody can name them. It's be gritty, be hungry, bring it. It's number 1. No surprises. Nobody likes surprises, right? Unless it's something positive, like a birthday party. But in business, most of the time, no surprises. Drive fast results. We're the FastLane. Drive fast results, have each other's back, and inspire life change. And those are all so very important. And that's really the core values of the organization.
Wow.
All right. I'm sorry, Tracy. I'm going to interrupt you here because
I know you're going
crazy, fascinating. Usually we will have values like integrity and fun and contribution. Kind of, you can't fit it in a wheelbarrow kind of values.
No, I will.
So yours are much more definitive. They're much clearer. And you're also suggesting that you do things to encourage us. You reward your team for doing this, the grittiness, no surprises, having each other's back. Not to get too far off course here, but are there any tips you would have for someone when they are encouraging values within their organization? What initiatives do you have? What reward systems? What best practices do you have?
Good question.
To reward these 5 value sets that you have?
Oh, that's so good. First of all, I think you have to be willing to adjust your values as you grow. It's not something that you start day one and you never change them. I laugh about when Ryan and I were young and this company was brand new. We literally officed in the front of a warehouse and what we thought our core values would be then. It's nowhere near where we are today. Now, these have been in place for 3 years and have not changed, and they really are the future of who we are. But an example is we added Inspire Life Change just 3 years ago. We only had 4. And we were like, we're missing something, and it's big. And one of our top directors at the time started talking about every time I get on a call, I'm thinking about inspiring life change, and we're going, whoa, that's whoa, and so we looked at it, we thought about it, we revisit them every year. We have 2 strategy sessions a year, and we revisit these and we make sure that we're measuring up against them. But in terms of how we always keep these top of mind, they're at the front of every meeting. And every time we have a meeting, somebody has a birthday or an anniversary or something. And I will say, okay, Courtney, it's your birthday today. Can you choose a core value that means a lot to you and tell me why? And she'll talk about it. And then the other thing we do is we nominate each other. Like I said, throughout the week, I saw 2 nominations already today. I think somebody had to leave early because their child was sick. And so somebody stepped in to run the leads for that day, and it was have each other's back. So I see those kind of things throughout the day because they hit my email. When we have a team meeting, then we read those off because everybody writes a couple sentences, and we read those off and we celebrate those core values that we've all demonstrated throughout the week. And then we do a drawing for a $50 gift card or something. Those little things are just, I think they mean a lot to the team. And without realizing it, the team just starts memorizing them because we're talking about them all the time, right?
Yeah,
So
it's creating your best practices
right.
and causing your team to make certain decisions that are congruent, consistent, and express those values. So thank you for sharing that and the importance. And honestly, the idea that our values can change,
right.
Whether that's due to our current stage of growth or the initiatives that we're running, or that they can evolve and they can change. They're not something in, on a tablet like the 10 Commandments, right?
Exactly right. I'm getting ready for our strategy session because all the leaders will fly in December. And that's actually one of the things I want to revisit is we've been comfortable with these core values for 3 years, but we had a big year. Southfield Capital came in this year. And now we're talking about how we want to expand the company. Do we have a core value that aligns with that? Or should we add a core value? Or, so that's one of the things I want our leaders all thinking about when we have a day out of the weeds of what we do.
Wow. I love the positive momentum. I love that it sounds like you have a lot of enthusiasm on your team, a lot of enthusiasm that you bring to the team, but there's also this great morale building. There's this wonderful culture. And, there's also an element in your career path and your trajectory that has been part grit and really hard work, and also part neophyte serendipity, just kind of falling into areas that were successful, or, luck would have it, right place, right time.
Yes.
Has there ever been a challenge, like something that, maybe our listeners aren't having that neophyte serendipity right now, right? Has there ever been a challenge that, there was something that you came up against, an obstacle that you came through the other side, and our listeners have something to kind of sink their teeth into and relate to, like, hey, I'm going through X, Y, Z. I can see myself in franchising. I can grasp hold of this big vision.
Sure, absolutely. One of the questions I get sometimes is, Carey, what was the biggest challenge when you all started FastLane? And boy, those days I remember it, and they were hard. There were FSOs in the industry. There were some franchise sales organizations in the industry, but we were new. And we primarily focus on the consultant networks, FranChoice, FranNet, FCC, IFPG. And I'm so thankful for those partnerships because, as you know, those leads that they send us, those are highly qualified. That's not a warm, that's a hot lead that's asking, can I take a look at this brand? But the very first few conferences we went to, we were nobody. And, you get your 5 minutes per brand, and you just had to follow somebody that's been an FSO in the industry for 10 years. And I just remember that being very challenging and deciding I have to become somebody. I have to show them I'm going to listen to what they want as consultants. I'm going to make their job easier, and I'm going to deliver for them. And so I picked a few key consultants and really worked on getting to know them. And I still remember to this day, Rick Bizio, Kim Daly, some of the top consultants in the country saying things like, Carey, you have to learn to frickin' frack. If you're going to be an FSO and you're going to be good at this, you have to learn to frickin' frack. And I went, well, then somebody's got to tell me what frickin' frack is, right?
I'd like to know what frickin' frack is.
I got to know what that is. Yeah. And it's the back and forth. It's, if I hand you a lead, I don't want you just working that lead towards your brand. I need to hear, how did every call go? Because I'm working, Kim Daly, she's meeting every week with that person as well and helping them find the right brand for them. So she needs to know, how did my intro call go? How did my unit economics go? Not only did we perfect Frickin' Frack, we built a portal so it's all automated. And now we have 710 consultants logging in on a daily basis to see where their leads sit in our process. So I listened to what I was told, and my partners and my team listened to what we were told, and they were master relationship builders. And of course, today we go to those consultants, and FastLane is very well known. But it really was that tough stage of being unknown and then building something that was very different, because FSO's standard were just big reputations on the phone. And we came in and hired no names and built process and technology and 30 employees. And people looked at us like we were crazy, but we just stayed committed to it and really listened to the experts.
Nice.
And the thing that you highlighted here also is you built relationships.
Really did.
You began to understand the broker mind. I've been working with brokers for 30 years, and they do bring high quality leads to franchisors and FSOs. And when you build that relationship and they can trust that you're going to get their client through the process effectively and not sell them something that's not right for them, but it's perfect for them, the broker is going to work better with you. And that frickin' frack that you talked about, that relationship and the understanding of the process. And then you took it a step further. You automated it, and you provided a way where the brokers can know exactly, the consultants can know exactly where you are. So you
all about people. You know, even Leslie Kubin, I still remember in the early days, Leslie at Franna, and I mentored under her and tried to learn. And now she would say that we mentor each other. And that's just means the world to me, you know?
Yeah.
So you're right. It comes back to people.
And it's funny, I can hear in your voice a little emotion around that, right? That there is this joy when we get to that place in our businesses where we truly can mentor and coach others. Our experience, our wisdom, our bumps, as Tracy pointed out, all will then benefit others as we mentor others. I want to ask about where you are now in terms of Franchise FastLane. You really do have a unique vantage point in everything that you were talking about. What are some trends that you are seeing in the industry?
This question is timed perfectly because we just talked a lot about the consultant networks.
Yes.
And, you know, while the top, when you just look at industry reports, when Fran Connect puts out their annual report every year, you'll still see that actually consultant networks is not the one lead source. There's still others that are biz, buy, sell, and digital media and all of that driving that. And I think what's exciting about the consultant networks is we are seeing new trends and new sectors. Usually when you think franchising, what do you think? Jimmy John's, McDonald's, maybe some of the lifestyle brands, Orange Theory, Massage Envy, some of those that's what you think of. But I think it's really exciting to see some of those names we've thrown out and these consultants now embracing a completely new sector and new categories for franchising. You can have an exciting business and make strong returns cleaning gutters, painting houses, blowing insulation, clearing drains. I mean, heck, one of our brands has an item 19, and you know what that is. That's your earnings claim, right? Your earnings claim in the FDD that clearly states first-year franchisees averaging 1.8 million in revenue. Well, what? Doing what? You think, what are they doing? They're building fences. They're building fences. It's Superior Fence. That's one of our. Really? I mean, that almost is mind-blowing. But this home service sector really emerged, I think, in that stage of COVID, because it was crucial. even during that time. And it was really resistant to economic downturns. So franchising is so much more than food. It's so much more than fitness. It's so much more than beauty. These are real and they're strong. They're B2B, they're B2C service sectors. They allow you to work from home, avoid a lease, hire a few employees, buy a rig, get to work and see revenue from a 3-pack right away versus these, slow development schedules. I think that's a new trend and it's really exciting.
It's so exciting. I know watching it is so exciting. And it'll open the door to many who haven't been able to afford certain businesses, because food can be very expensive.
Big items.
Retail businesses can be very expensive. So this opens the door to folks that wouldn't even consider franchising until now, when we have all these other opportunities. So I love what you're up to. So I love your passion. Tracy, you already kind of.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, that I love your enthusiasm.
Oh, I love what I do. I'm glad that comes across. I really do.
So
and who I do it with.
What is your favorite part of your role?
I mean, let's come back to passion number one. As much as I love FastLane, I have 3 sons. I have 3 sons. And that is my number one. That is my why, right? That is my get up and do this every single day. And again, let's go back to that favorite definition in the dictionary: clear and compelling picture of preferable future. My boys know that definition too. And every day I get to demonstrate to them that I'm following that I am following vision. And I hope I'm exemplifying that for them, because I want them to find their vision. For me, it's been franchising and ushering others into franchising and working with people that love franchising and doing podcasts like this with 2 other people that love franchising. That's what it is for me. And they hear about it at dinner, and they hear about a new brand that I just signed, and this fencing brand that's incredible, and brands we're franchising with personally. So I think they get to see me live out vision and exemplify that. And that's my favorite thing. Recently I have again 3 sons. One of them's 20, 16, and 10. So big age gap. And my 20-year-old came home after his last semester and said, "Mom, you're not going to believe this. I just got an A on my stats final." His stats. And I kind of, that's not something I would think he loved. So it kind of blew me over. And is there any piece of me that says, well, then you should be an actuary or you should be a statistician? That's what you should do. Absolutely not. Because I love this kid and I want him to do what he loves. And from the time he was 4 years old, he's wanted to fly planes. He's an aviation major. He flies 4 times a week and he loves it. And he calls me all the time to tell me about something new that happened in the sky. He needs to do what he loves. And so I hope with me exemplifying, me doing what I love, that inspires my kids to do the same thing. That'd be a favorite part of my role.
Beautiful. So along those lines, what's the least favorite part of your role?
Achieving balance. It's so hard. The role, the travel, making sure I still get the small moments with my kids that matter, the bedtimes, but also the big moments, not missing games and concerts, taking vacations off the computer because it's too tempting to be on the computer. I recently saw a poster, actually was in social media. I was doing the scroll, right? And it made me laugh out loud. So I grabbed a screenshot of it and I put it on my desktop. And it says, "Society asks a mother to raise her children as if she has no job, to work as if she had no children, and then to look like a woman who has no children and no job."
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great.
I about fell over. I took a screenshot of it and sent it to my girlfriend. We're under such pressure. And balance is hard. For me, what I've found is I have to work out in the morning. I have to have time to read. I have to have dinner with the kids when we can. We're not running to games. And then I have to establish some routines and stick to them. And that's not easy. But on Sunday nights, we have family night. That is family night. You cannot hang with your friends. Your homework better be done, or you're going to be up late that night because we are doing family night. And it might be as simple as dinner and Uno, right? Or it might be a movie if we have a little more time. But I think sticking to those things, family vacations are important. We've also been pretty committed to one-on-one trips when we can. My husband gets a little more time with the kids, so he's very gracious about letting me take them and go away. When my son turned 16, we just went away together. He loves baseball. We took in a game. Those kind of things, you ask them later, what's your favorite vacation? And it's always shocking. It's not the big time you all went to Mexico together. It's that one-on-one trip to St. Louis to watch the Cardinals, right? I mean, because it was one-on-one and they felt like they were the center of your attention. Balance, that's hard.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense about the vacation, because my most memorable vacation to date are the times that my son and I jumped in an RV and took off.
Yep. So
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny when you look back what they remember versus what we remember. What we
Yes.
think is, I took two of my granddaughters on a cross-country trip a couple of years ago, and they talk not about the beach or the skiing or this or that, the millions of wonderful things we did in San Diego and other places. The one thing they bring up again and again is a road. It was a stop to go to the restroom at one of those roadside parks, right? And there were these big rocks, and they could climb on these massive rocks. And they want to go back to these rocks. And I'm like, really? That was the best.
Really? Everything. I know it's so true.
Disneyland wasn't it?
Right.
Wasn't it? The beach wasn't
Yeah.
the rocks.
Right. The rocks.
And I barely remember the rocks, but
Yeah.
that's what
They pull those things out. Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Quality moments.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when you look back at your life, Carey, and of course you got a whole lot more you're going to be contributing to franchising and the world of business, as a mentor, as an encourager, as an inspirer. Is that a word? Is an inspirer a word? Anyway, if
It is
not,
now.
it is.
Yeah.
I just made it up, right?
I like it.
What is your best lesson you ever learned? We want an inside view so we can learn it vicariously.
Oh, good. It's mindset. I think it's mindset. I talked about definition, but I also talked about the quote, which I ran into at a very young age: whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. The best lesson I ever learned was it starts with your mindset and your belief in yourself, because that is what's going to come true. That will come to fruition. I mentioned 22, maybe filing my first tax return, but all of a sudden being this expert on national media. At Intuit at 25, I led a team of programmers, all much older than me, but I believed I could. Sojourn was a travel data company that I started that does very well today. Getting all of the airlines aligned around, they were highly competitive, getting them all aligned around one strategy. Complete Nutrition being told to sell 20 and selling 240, building this FSO now today that's inspiring life change with 55 employees that I care so much about. And now all these franchisees that we're ushering in. It came back to mindset. I mean, it's just, and every day I still have to get up in the morning and say, I believe. I think it's really smart to get up in the morning. We just had a training session at FastLane, and think about 3 things you're grateful for and write those down. And 3 things you want to claim about yourself. I am a good mother. I am an impactful CEO, right? I am a good inspirer of entrepreneurship. Think about 3 things that you want to be and claim those every morning and shake them up and make them different. Because if you claim those things and you believe you can be those things, they might happen. They will happen.
Nice. Beautiful. It's a lot to think about. What are some of the things that our audience should be thinking about if they were going to invest in some kind of franchise opportunity?
Yeah. The beauty of the franchise model is it's not a startup. It's not a startup. You can study the current model. This week alone, I've already read 6 FDDs. I read one yesterday. We're getting it ready to launch, and it has to be just right. I'm a big believer in the franchise disclosure document. That is your manual. It's the story behind the brand, and people have a tendency to skim and not dive in. I think you need to. I think you need to look for a differentiated model, strong leader. That's going to be your partner for a minimum of 10 years. If you love the business, you're going to renew, and it's going to be even longer than that. Franchisee systems, processes, what does the marketing look like? Do they have a call center? What's the training look like? Start there, visit the brand, and then deep dive into that FDD. Item 2, you're going to hear about the leadership. Item 3, has there been litigation? What happened? Why? You need to understand that. Yeah. Items 5 and 6, the fees. What are the minimums? Make sure you know. You don't want to be surprised. No surprises. Item 7, what does it cost? Item 12, how do they define territory? Is your territory protected? Item 19, earnings. That matters. Can you make money inside of this, right? Can this be a system that you can generate profits? Item 20, how is the brand growing or closing? Because they're going to have to disclose any closures there as well. Those things are so very important. And then last, validate. Validate.
Absolutely.
There's franchisees already doing it every day. They live in the system. It's the beauty of franchising. This one does not have the risk of a startup. Call those franchisees, get on the line with them, ask them, what is it like a day in the life? How long until you were profitable? You can ask them anything you want. I mean, they might answer some questions and skip others, but I would ask and make sure you understand the business before you get in. What's it like to work with this founder? Do you feel like they have your back? Do you feel like you have some support? Those are the things I would look at before investing in a franchise model. And I look at before bringing on a brand in the FastLane, because we do invest in every brand we bring in.
And that's a really good point. You live in Warren Buffett land there.
I do. I do.
And the
Yeah.
first thing you said was to look at the leadership. And that is something Warren Buffett talks about when just investing in stocks, is first look at the leadership. Do they have a clear and compelling preferred future?
Yes.
And are they building their business around that? What are their skill sets? What are those things? So whether you're investing in a franchise, you're investing in a stock, it's similar. You want to look at that leadership first and foremost.
Yep.
And many franchisors are emerging franchisors. So they may not yet have a strong item 19 or a bunch of franchisees. So no, and I'm this is just me with my strong opinion after 30 years working with franchisors and franchise consultants and brokers. It really is an important factor to look at all of those items, but really do pay attention to the leadership, especially if it's a smaller, emerging, up and coming, which you guys work with a lot of those types. Is that correct, Carey?
Absolutely. I would say most of our brands, you're right on point, are emerging, if not micro emerging. We have a couple brands that are, 100 plus territories when we signed them and brought them in, but many of our brands are 20 territories or even 5 territories or less. We still encourage them to at least share the earnings of the current franchisees, have an item 19, even if it's only 2 or 3 locations right now. We encourage them to do that. I absolutely do not want to sign a brand that does not have validators. We validate them to bring them into the fast lane. If somebody can't talk positively about what their experience is like inside of your brand, you are not ready to grow.
Mm-mm.
Have some things to fix first, but you're right that we really thrive in that emerging space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so many great concepts out there. Final question for you before we ask you about how folks learn more about you and learn more about FastLane and the concepts that you were helping grow and take to that next level. You mentioned reading, and that's a big part of your life. What are you reading, or what podcasts are you listening to currently that are inspiring you?
Good question. I absolutely love, and I've read it more times than I can count, but I love Good to Great, the Jim Collins book and the Flywheel and all of that. That one's a good one. So I'm always going to throw that one out. But as a company in 2022, we read a book every year. And as a company in 2022, we read Building a Story Brand. I always have it right here because we're studying it. We just studied a couple chapters in our last LT. So this one's about the struggle of marketers and business owners to connect with the customer. And I think it's really good because I think so many times these companies think we need to be the hero to solve the customer's problem. And what happens here, Donald Miller just changes your thought process to understand the customer's the hero. The customer's the hero. You're the guide. You need to understand their internal problem and lift them as the hero and guide them as that. And so who's my heroes? My heroes are the people considering investing in franchising. My heroes are the brands who are looking to us to help them grow. We're not the hero, we're the guide to help them with that. So that was really instrumental in just how we talk to what we do. So I love that. Personally, from just a female business leader, I love Jen Sincero's books. I think she's so good. I'm reading her second one right now, but You Are a Badass. Sorry, but to quote the book, that was the first one. It was literally called You Are a Badass. And I love the excerpt. I keep it right here on my second monitor. There's several good ones, but I love this one. Commit to releasing your attachment to low frequency thoughts and experiences. So many of us are guilty of just scrolling through social media all day, and we get committed to low frequency, not positive thoughts and experiences. Commit to releasing that. Trust that the universe loves the crap out of you. Kick fear in the face and head bravely into the unknown, head bravely into the unknown. That quote just blows me away every time I read it. So there's a few that I'm reading right now and I really love it. Still working on which book we'll study in 2023, to be continued.
Wow. I'm thinking we want that quote and we want those two books so we can put it in with your bio and when we post this. This is crazy inspiring, Tracy. My brain is going, do I have that clear and compelling preferred future? Is my mindset the way it needs to be? And I'm sure others are asking that same question.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you too, because I think it's so exciting that franchising is an industry where you see so many women leaders and women franchisees and women founders. We signed a new brand yesterday. We haven't announced it yet, so I can't say it, but I called the founder on the drive home, and it's, it's a woman leader, a woman founder, and she has a vision for little girls. It's a child enrichment brand all across the country. And I called her driving home and I went, Sarah, you blow my mind. What you've built already is so impressive. The fact that you chose FastLane now to partner with to take this nationwide, I hope you know I am just honored and blown away to partner with you. So I love what you two are doing too with this podcast and your vision for women in franchising. It means a lot.
You know, when I started, Carey, in the world of franchising, 1993, where I partnered with Howie Bassick from FranNet to create an assessment tool for FranNet.
Wow.
Later that evolved into Zorkel, and we work with hundreds of franchisors and hundreds of franchise brokers now. I fell in love with franchising the way you fell in love. But what I noticed 30 years ago, and this is why the Franchise Woman, is when I would go into an IFA meeting or franchise leadership and development conference, that I was one of few, right? Women. It was maybe 10% of the population. Today, it's about 30% in terms of business owners and slightly more in terms of executives, founders within the franchise space. Franchising is a great fit for women. Our research shows again and again they rise to the top as franchisees, and they are also now rising to the top as leaders, founders, innovators. So we want to encourage women to truly look at franchising as a way to express that entrepreneurial business owner side of you, because it's a good fit. It's a good fit for women in general. It's a good fit for men too, but it seems to be even better for women. So thank you for everything you're up to, and for supporting the Franchise Woman podcast, because we want to get the word out to as many folks as possible that this is a place to be playing and working in.
Yes, I completely agree. FastLane is now, and trust me, I love our guys in the FastLane. They're incredible. They're a big reason of why we're there, but we're 50% women. And so many of our leaders, one of our senior VPs is an incredible female leader, our VP of operations, our director of marketing, even leadership and down. We have so many remarkable women. And I'm so proud of the FastLane. I'm proud of our guys without a doubt, but how remarkable to have an organization that's 50% women.
Yeah.
So how can our audience get a hold of you?
Oh, we have a great website out there, www.franchisefastlane.com, all over LinkedIn. You can't miss us on LinkedIn. We're posting constantly. Facebook, Instagram, you'll find our handles and everything when you go out to our website. But www.franchisefastlane.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Carey, for joining us today. And thank you to the rest of you listening in to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. We'll see you next week on another episode.
Thank you.